If you are an advisor, coach, or consultant, are you letting the perfect clients for you slip right through your fingers accidentally? If you're making even one of the five mistakes I'm going to share today, then yes, you are. You're letting the perfect clients go because of mistakes that are easily avoidable. And I'm going to help you figure out what those are today. It's not only losing you thousands of dollars, it's costing you thousands of dollars, it's also creating a lot of unnecessary stress. I've been teaching sales for 8 years now, and some 75 to 80% of the people who've gone through my programs are financial advisors or other kind of advisors, coaches, whether that's business or life or wellness coaches, and consultants in everything from marketing to strategy to branding. And I've seen that you all have a few things in common. The first thing is you really care about your clients and customers. You went into business because you want to help people. I can relate. That's exactly why I started Million Dollar Women. But that same instinct can get in your way when it's time to sell. I see you making a lot of the same mistakes, which I'm going to share here today. But an overarching thing that I see is just a discomfort with sales. Because even though you're an expert at what you do and you have so much confidence about that, that's why you started your company in the first place, that confidence and that expertise does not carry over to sales. And I know why, because I had that same issue before I got trained in sales almost a decade ago, and then it solved so many of those problems. So I'm excited to share with you today the five top mistakes I have seen advisors, coaches, and consultants make. And I'm going to help you figure out how not to make them. I don't have time to solve each one today, but I do have a lot of specific videos on my YouTube channel that dive deeper into the topics I'm about to cover. So if you want to check that out, just go to Julia Pimsler Coach on YouTube and you'll be able to watch 5 or 10-minute videos that cover each of these topics. So the very first one that I see advisors, coaches, and consultants getting wrong in sales is not understanding what is at stake for the customer. Yes, they need their problem solved. Yes, you have something that's going to help them. But getting under that and figuring out what is at stake for them is often the key to selling. And if you don't ask the right questions, it probably won't just come up by itself. I know one question that I started asking a few years ago that is a game changer is there any personal reason that you set up this call now as opposed to some other time? Someone enrolled with me for one-on-one coaching yesterday who shared that she had been on my list for 4 years. So if I hadn't asked the question, why now, after 4 years, to finally set up this call, I wouldn't have found out the real reasons that she had called and what was really at stake in her fixing her business. So don't overlook figuring out what is at stake. The second thing that I see advisors, coaches, and consultants not having enough training in is helping their client to see that it's going to cost them more to keep the problem than to pay them to solve it. Let me say that again. You want your client to understand it's going to cost them more to keep the problem than to pay you to solve it. Now, that requires a lot of expertise. It's something that sounds simple, but is not easy. Simple, but not easy. To make sure that you are showing up as the expert, sharing stories about how you've helped other clients, and also helping them to get more connected with what is going to go wrong if they don't solve this problem. Now, they feel urgent enough about it that they set up the call or took the meeting, so you can assume the problem is pretty big. But not everybody who shows up for a call or meeting with you has enough at stake, the first one, or really gets that it's going to cost them more to keep the problem than to solve it. And by the way, if it's not going to cost them more to keep it than to solve it, then let them go. Throw that fish back in the ocean and go for someone who does have a problem big enough that it's worth them paying you to solve it. I work with all people who are not the cheap and cheerful advisors, coaches, and consultants. And so when you are the more pricey or at least not the cheap option, you want to make sure you're good at helping them see what this rather large investment they're going to make is going to do for them and how it's going to be worse for them to keep it than to pay you to solve it. Number 3, not communicating your pricing clearly enough. Many people are good at saying what the cost is of their goods and services, but they don't really flesh out for the client what is the value, what are they getting, this all rolls back up to the thing I talked about in the beginning, where you're not that comfortable with sales. So you want to kind of speed through this part about the fees. Or sometimes people punt it and say, oh, I'll send you a PDF, or I'll send you an email, I'll send you a proposal. Not owning your pricing and not knowing how to talk about it right there on the call is definitely costing you thousands of dollars. So if that's one that you're doing, this could be your wake-up call right now to get that one fixed. The fourth thing I see people kind of fall down on is they're not moving zealously to the close. That's a term I made up. It comes from religion, right? A zealot. So a zealot is someone who's so excited about their religion that they're out there preaching to everybody. Well, when it's time to close, we want you to be a zealot. And I definitely have a whole video on this. But if you're finding that you're getting to the end and you've had this great connection, whether in person, on the phone, or on Zoom, and now it's time to say, okay, well, let's get started next week. And I'd love to get my team going on this as of Monday. How do you want to pay? Via credit card? Should I send you a link and sit here while you click on that and make a deposit? If you're not doing that and pulling them into your excited, zealous energy about the close, you're probably also missing out on a lot of business. And that leads us to our fifth one, which has to do with psychology, because there's a lot of basic psychology that can help you in a sales call, meeting, or Zoom, and especially at the end during the close. That's when people can really sabotage the whole thing. Even though they got on the phone call with you because they really need your help, they have a really big, juicy problem that you know you can solve. But at the end, they start saying, well, let me think about it, or I have to meet with my team. Now, granted, sometimes they are not the decision maker, and there does have to be a two-part process. But often people let the deal slip through their fingers right there during the close because they don't know that basic psychology that you have to master during a close. And that's something we spend an entire unit on in my 1-month sales training, because it's that important and that easy to get wrong, especially if you've never had any official sales training. So now that you know these 5 mistakes, and they're all very fixable, you can start to work on how could you shift your mindset around sales? How can you build basic sales skills so that you're not doing any of these anymore and start closing more deals with more confidence? Trust me, thousands of dollars are on the other side of getting over these 5 things. It doesn't have to be with me, but I would like you to get sales training, because as much as you're an expert at what you do, if you haven't learned these sales skills, then you're probably a lot like I was in my first business before I got trained in sales, which was thinking that passion and expertise was enough. That if I just showed up and spoke passionately about what I do, I knew how great it was, surely they would come and they would say yes. It's a little bit like if you build it, they will come. But if you've ever tried if you build it, they will come, and realize that doesn't work, you have to actually have a great website, master marketing, know how to put your message out there in the world. Sales is exactly the same. Passion and expertise will get you to a couple $100,000 in revenues, maybe a little past that. But we have worked with so many business owners who just got stuck because they didn't have this sales training. So reach out to me if I can be helpful. I do coach via my group programs and also via one-on-one coaching. You can set up a call at scalewithjulia.co. If we have a program starting, one of our 1-month sales sprints, we could get you into that. And if not, I do train teams and individuals in one-on-one sales training. I hope one of these 5 is something you'll start to work on right away today. Feel free to, again, go back to my YouTube channel and check out deeper teachings and learnings on any of these 5. And I will see you right back here soon. Until then, stay brave and go big.